What's the most significant lie you discovered but couldn't confront? This was about 11 years ago. I was the sober one, making sure two of my friends got home after an event where they had both had a lot of alcohol. I bring them both back to one of their apartments. While I'm there, they kiss. I pretend not to notice and tell nobody since they were not together yet. Fast forward to February of this year, their wedding. I am one of the groomsmen. They tell our group of friends that their first kiss was in 2019. I correct them and tell them it was actually 2015, and I finally got to share this story. Apparently neither of them remember that, lol. Ah! This is the best one. Neither of them remembered. How did everyone else react to this news? 4 years before they had already kissed? Keeping them honest. Sounds like you're the unofficial historian of their relationship. About 10 years ago, I got laid off from my job due to budget cuts. I had a friend who worked in payroll. She said that right after I got laid off, my boss and one other person on my team got pay raises equivalent to my salary. Couldn't pitch a fit because I didn't want to get my friend in trouble. This was in the nonprofit industry, and I was an excellent performer. I had gotten promoted to a position a year or so earlier with no pay raises, just a title change because they laid off my previous boss. So I got the privilege of taking on her title and work, but conveniently, none of the pay. Never falling for that bullshit again. Still mad at you, Andy, for laying me off so you could get a raise. That was a dick move. I feel like this so-called non-profit needs to be shamed if it's operating like this. That's how they all work, lol. If you want to find some of the scummiest people, look at admin positions in non-profits. They're largely just people that couldn't cut it in the for-profit positions, but just as ruthless. The lower to middle positions are often people that really believe in the work and are severely underpaid because of that. Find any non-profit organization and check where most of the money goes. It's almost always admins soaking up the money for little work while the underlings barely scrape by. I had a college teammate who constantly complained about UTIs. She seemed to have one every other month, and it was something that came up because she couldn't drink and be on the ABX because it gave her the shits. She was constantly pissed and bloated and didn't know why this was happening. I forget why, but I was using her Mac and her Messages app dinged, and it was her messaging her latest fling in real time, in explicit detail, that she hated how BC made her feel and didn't like condoms, so she preferred to do it up the butt if he wanted to come in her. Apparently he was switching back door to front and not wiping his feet. I didn't want to admit that I'd been enlightened, but I really didn't want her to keep getting sick. So the next time we hung out, I made sure to act more drunk than usual and made up a story about a patient I'd seen who had chronic UTIs because her BF didn't wash his dick after butt stuff. I said it loud and proud that the doc told her to have the BF wash his hands and dick prior to foreplay and swap condoms when going back to front. I didn't look at her. We weren't friends, but she was always a chronic complainer. She suddenly stopped complaining about UTIs. I like to think I did her a service. It's downright wholesome. We need more people like this in the world. Incredibly kind of her to risk embarrassing herself to help somebody she doesn't really know. Not all heroes wear capes, but they do promote clean condoms. She hated how BC made her feel and didn't like condoms, so she preferred to do it up the butt. If he wanted to come in her, he's coming in the butt and still switching back to pink. I don't get the order of operations here. The switching is happening as they go, then just making sure he enters the back door for the grand finale. I'm guessing he would use the vagina up until he was about to come, then switches to the butt for a few pumps to come, then comes back to the vagina. That doesn't sound right. Either he's still coming, and this is therefore a ridiculously ineffective birth control strategy, or he's finished coming and therefore cramming Mr. Softy back up in there. This was somebody who went back to front. I don't think they were thinking too hard about it. You found a great way to let her know. My instinctive reaction was, how couldn't one know? Then I remembered how even my own experiences with sexual education have been terrible, to say the least. That was very kind of you. Also, shame on the dudes for not realizing that this would be fucked up, but if they see it in porn, it gets normalized. They don't see the preparation those performers do prior to filming. It's not just the guys. Notice that she didn't lay down the law either. My current sex partner asked me to do this, and I had to be the one to inform her that it's strictly a porn thing. I work in HR, benefits. When someone resigns, is fired, or is laid off, I see all of the paperwork, because the reason why a person leaves the org affects their benefits. People that get laid off get to keep their insurance for a year, paying the employee premium instead of COBRA premium. I had a friend that worked in the same organization get fired after filing a complaint related to disability accommodations at work. So illegal. Her managers told her that she did not qualify for unemployment because she was being fired for insubordination, and she believed them. I looked up her employment paperwork, and the reason listed for the end of employment just stated end of contract. I made a photocopy just in case. I spent 2 weeks convincing her to file for unemployment and told her she should specify the reason as a layoff and let the org appeal it if they disagreed. Spoiler alert, the org did not appeal it, and she got her unemployment. Sigh, wish you had been my friend when the same thing happened to me. I was so furious and embarrassed, I never even applied for unemployment. That was actually the last job I had, and just a couple months after I left, COVID hit. My coworker calling in sick saying they were in the ER, but they were literally active on Discord, playing Apex Legends. Couldn't say shit because I was also supposed to be working lol. On a related note, early on in my career, I worked at a data center. Our Minecraft game went down shortly before midnight, and we tried to troubleshoot the server remotely, only to find we couldn't reach any servers in the entire data center. So, like proper gaming-addicted nerds, we drove over to the data center to figure out what was going on, only to find out that one of the main power feeds to the data center had caught fire. The head of operations put the fire out, a fairly risky deal given the amount of electricity involved, and we helped him clean up things and get our customers' servers back online. The next day, the operations manager praised us left and right in a department-wide meeting for being incredibly dedicated employees. He simply assumed that we were on call and caught a notification. My boss was on call. No notification went out because there was no power. He knew we were slackers by and large, and that something was up. But he just lied and said we were on call and praised us some more. Good times. I mean, you did stay and got everything going, so the props for doing it are definitely deserved. I feel like, lol. Underrated comment, but I see you, and I appreciate you, fellow regular show enjoyer. Seems like there probably should be an alert sent when power loss occurs from battery backup. But not at all surprising that wasn't the case. The place was basically 2 steps up from a mom-and-pop shop, and about a decade and a half ago. They've probably got something in place now, I hope, huh? Teenage me was supposed to be asleep in bed, but had snuck a girl in the basement and were making out on the couch. Suddenly, my mom trucks out to the kitchen at like 10:30 at night, plops down at the table, and starts a phone call. The kitchen was right on top of the basement stairs, so we were pretty much stuck. She was having a call with someone, I assume one of my aunts, about how my oldest brother and his girlfriend were going to have an abortion. A fake this has never been public knowledge within the family. IDK who knows, but I know I'm not supposed to. Never said a word about it to anyone. Joke's on you. That was her way of telling you that she knew you were there and trying to make sure you make good choices that night. We'll see her reply later in this thread. Impossible. She doesn't understand how to use computers to the capacity she could ever post a comment on Reddit.